would like and the question and answer session will be question from the panel of assessors to take precedence of other panel. Right? Question and answer session will be have immediate time period. Now, with the first presenter, Madi from Lesson 1, presenting presentation.
Okay, very good morning. Presenting on my thesis. Okay. The title is Study on How ASL Games Based Learning Platform Affects the students of FPJ KDRI Semester 8 teachers during the online practicum. Okay. So on pupils' participation, now we as teachers, we need motivation from the students when we conduct classes. So Ryan M. Dace in 2000 said, to be motivated means to be moved to do something. So motivation plays very important role in enabling people to learn or to participate. If they don't have any motivation, they wouldn't be participating in our classes. It will be very nice. So as we can see, the reason why I choose motivation in my thesis is because during the early years, 2020, COVID has impact our country, and it causes the schools to be closed. When it closed, the students cannot go to school. They don't experience the normal life of being in school. So the motivation to learn is different from before. So as ESL Chinese teachers, this means that the teachers, especially the Chinese teacher, need to adapt to the situation and try new techniques and methodologies in order to adapt to the new style of teaching created by Evido and others in 2018. So the statement of the problem, since the MCO happened, it results in the closure of the schools. So the level of people's motivation dropped, plummeted, according to Unera and this 2020. So some of the pupils are very reluctant, they are unprepared, and they find it very boring to be in online. And some of the reason is because the methods of teaching from the teachers during online class, as stated by Mazura 2018 and Kirin 2021. So the purpose of the study is that you want to know how the method of gamification can help the teachers to promote motivation levels among their pupils so that the pupils can motivated and also increase the participation level in the classroom. Okay? Okay, so this is the research objective. First of all is to identify what is the perceived attitude of the semester 8 teacher trainees towards using gamification in the classroom, and also whether the gamification has actually can increase the level of motivation of their pupils in learning English during the online practical. Okay. So the research question is same as the research objective. What is the perceived attitude of IPJKDRI semester 8 teacher trainees on the gamification of ESL activities in classroom towards pupil motivation, and does using online ESL game-based learning platform increases motivation of their pupils. Okay, so this is the point of view of the teacher trainees. Next. So the significance of the research. This is to give grounded suggestions to teachers in utilizing free-to-play game-based learning platform is available. So this includes quizzes and Kahoot, Educandy. So all of these game-based learning is actually free, but not all uses this in schools. Okay, so evidence to show that gamification of ESL activities during online teaching learning can help teachers to improve the way of teaching and aid them in the online learning and teaching session. Because online learning and teaching session is actually a new thing. Okay. Also, it helps teachers and teacher trainees to reach that realization that utilizing game technology can be beneficial in the classroom. Okay. Now, the theories that I'm based upon is the Maslow hierarchy of needs, also Deci and Ryan's self-determination theory. Okay. So, as you know, Maslow said that we need to complete a set of need of the student before they can reach motivation, while Deci and Ryan state that there are two types of motivation. One is an extrinsic factor, one is intrinsic factor. Okay, so this is the theory. The past research in here, there is two: gamification and language, and also gamification and motivation. So two things. So if we said gamification and language, we are talking about how games can help the teachers in actually teaching English, because in Krishnan et al., he said that the game platform has the capabilities to expose learner to new vocabulary, phrases, making decisions. Also, it provides them with new stimulus in order to make them more engaged and eager to participate in the subjects, as stated by Song and the others in 2013. So gamification actually refers to the introduction of game elements in non-gaming situations, for example, in systems, services, organizations, or activities, as stated by Amari et al. In 2014. Okay, so the link between gamification and motivation. So first of all, mainly gamification, it touches on the extrinsic part of the side motivation. For example, games can help students to interact and socialize while learning as gaming platforms such as Minecraft, Kahoot, quizzes, and many more. And it causes the pupils to create intimacy between them. Now, if they have intimacy between them, the relationship, even though they cannot go and meet each other during the MCO, they can still be engaged and they still can, it can still help them to create this motivation to, oh, I want to learn because my friend is there. And also in Dahlstrom 2017, it was that because of this situation, because of the extrinsic situation that the game gives, it also sometimes can give a little bit of extrinsic motivation boost. It increases because when they are subjected to the intrinsic motivation level to a degree. Okay, so research design. So I choose to do quantitative research because mainly it can collect a lot of data from large population, define them, and survey can discover the distribution, correlation, relative. But the most important thing is the psychological, sociological variables, because we can actually know and we can actually measure the level of perception. Okay, next. So the population in sample. So there are 45 respondents. Okay, only 45 respondents because this is one of my limitations. Because I have a date and not all of the respondents are able to manage to answer the questionnaires at the time. So only 45 respondents. So for the pilot study, there are 12 respondents from other IPG. And then the reliability test, is 0.8, which is pretty reliable. Also, the validity is high since I adapt the questionnaires from Shakir Asfar Abdul Halim in 2020 recent paper. So all of the respondents, even from the other IPG, are all from semester 8 teacher training because they are the only one at that time who has gone through the phase of online and learning. So the instrument uses, I use 12 items. All of them are closed-ended questions. I use 5-point Likert scale, and this is a fully online questionnaire. Okay, so the research procedures. So the way I conduct my research, actually, first of all, I figure the common problem during online teaching. Because it always occurs to me that some of the students are not engaged when I observe other teachers in the school, for example, the veteran teachers. Most of the students are not engaged. And so I figure that this is a main problem. Okay. So after that, I pinpoint the variable of the problem, research the past literature, I develop the hypothesis, then I develop the questionnaire, and also then I present the findings. So this is the data collection procedure. I develop the questionnaire, distribute it using WhatsApp and the email links. I make sure that the respondents adhere to the deadline. That is one of my limitations. I collect the data, transfer it into Excel form, feed it into the SPSS, and then I present the findings. So this is the analysis procedure. All of the data that I've collected, I put it into the SPSS. I check the reliability, analyze the mean and the standard, and then I present. This is the data finding. So teacher perception, if you look at the mean, this is 4.64, which means this is a very positive rate, and the standard deviation is only 0.4. It's not much of a deviation. Okay, so next one is the findings on how ESL game-based learning it affects people's motivation. Again, the mean is 4.1, which means it is high. The standard deviation is only 0.3. Very small. Okay, so in conclusion, the conclusions are: study shows that people's are not motivation due to both extrinsic and intrinsic motivation factors. For example, how the teacher teach and how they are brought up and how is the session level. We cannot control that, but at least we can know what is the cause. Studies also shows that incompetent teachers who use a traditional method in a technological advanced platform can contribute to lack of motivation because all the teacher does is just talk. And for kids, for us, it's okay, but for kids, it's not okay. Okay, so lack of IT from the teachers. This is teachers in IPG itself. There are some who is lacking in the IT skills. And gamification can help with extrinsic motivations, but less on the intrinsic motivation, but still good. So recommendation, we teachers need to increase the knowledge on ICT. We can adapt more ESL lesson to games. The ministry should provide all students subsidy to help them with buying new gadgets at the price. And the Ministry of Education can provide training for teacher trainees as well as experienced teacher to focus on ICT and gamification methods of teaching. So the implication, gamification can provide them with enjoyment. Gamification can provide the teacher with upper hand since games is more fun and engaging. But also, it can help. It also benefit teachers because it is not hard to develop games because game-based learning such as code is already there. So also it can negate the mindset of seeing learning session as chores, and it can help pupils to apply learning concept in real life in real time via games. So that is all. Thank you very much.
Please welcome Dr. Tajuk to ask any questions.
Thank you, Dom. Congratulations, Madrat. Must be ready now. Okay. I have one question for you. What were some of the challenges that you faced while doing this research and how did you overcome them?
So one of the main problems that I face in actually conducting research is the number of respondents and how I chose the respondent, because not all of the respondent uses games during the online practicum. Some of them still using videos and talking talking without using much of the gamification method. So this is a challenge because I have to find and I have to actually type in my questionnaires only for only the students who uses more than 80% of the games in the on the practicum can answer the questionnaires. So that is the challenges that I face.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I've got one question which is similar to the first question. All right.
Mm.
Okay, the limitation. Did you write about the limitation of your research in your thesis or whatever we call it, project
Yes.
paper?
I actually put it, but it's very small paragraph. I didn't. It's just a brief one.
Okay, first I must congratulate you because this is the current topic. USM also, many researchers from universities are doing on this gamification, which is a very current thing because of the situation now of the COVID. We have to go to online and everything. And just now you stated that, of course, you face a few problems. One of the problems is that not many people are using videos and gamification, but that affects your sampling.
Yes.
Okay, so sampling is a very important part in research. Okay, so you have to overcome this problem, but you can state this problem in your limitation. State this clearly that this is a limitation of this research because you are facing this problem. Okay, sampling is an important part. Even yesterday I was talking about sampling, isn't it? Yeah. So I think you can just improve a little bit on that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yes, Mr.
Yes. So my good morning to also and also my friend. My name is Khairul Aminabia binti Ahmad Regi from Singapore. For me to present my thesis titled "The Use of Perspective to Improve Year 4 Pupils Vocabulary Mastery." Background of study: vocabulary, as one of the knowledge areas in language, plays an important part in the acquisition of language. Limited vocabulary will make it harder for us to express ourselves and understand the message. Our education situation has also started to change towards the digital classroom since we were hit by the unpredicted pandemic. Kids are now working from home and students are learning from home. So the education now relies on technology. Technology and learning resources help learners develop successful self-directed learning skills to align with the 21st century education, which are more to student-centered learning. Problem statement. Study done by Wong has proven that in 2019 has proven that a Malaysian student's vocabulary comprehension does not improve with age. even though they are now in the tertiary education, their vocabulary size are still small. It does not expand much. Then a study done by Tajuk in 2019. So, young learners are unable to follow part of a conversation or discussion with their friends or someone else due to their unfamiliarity with the topic and English vocabulary. Due to limited knowledge in vocabulary and limited mastery in vocabulary, young learners are unable to converse with their friends and also felt left out if they cannot understand what their friends are talking about. Next, the purpose of the study. This research primary purpose was to improve vocabulary acquisition of tier 4 pupils using the X4 due to different styles of learning and how our education is now gearing towards a student-centered learning, student-centered teaching and learning process. The intervention was built using digital tools. It promotes independence in terms of learning and lets pupils take charge of their own learning without being pressured to follow their peers' pace as what they face in physical classroom. The research objective number 1 is to help tier 4 pupils to improve their vocabulary mastery, while objective number 2 is to increase pupils' motivation in learning vocabulary by using visuals and multimedia games. At the end of this research, I intended to answer these questions. The intervention helped to improve pupils' vocabulary mastery, as OKID managed to increase pupils' motivation in learning vocabulary. The significance of this study is that in the SKP, the goals, by the end of year 6, students will be able to confidently and appropriately communicate with peers and adults in formal and informal situations, as well as appropriate language, style and form to write for a variety of purposes using a variety of media. So for them to achieve this goal, they need to master the vocabulary that are listed in the DSKP. For this, it will assist teachers in devising new ways to effectively teach their students about language, but also allowing them to have fun in the learning process. And then for students, it improves students' understanding and vocabulary mastery, also attract their attention in the lesson, and also attract them to learn vocabulary. Educated past research in 2015, a research done by Ali and Elham. They carry out a study to find the effect of games in vocabulary learning. So from their findings, they found that games are beneficial in vocabulary learning because they enhance students' ability to memorize words and enhance students' communication. Okay, in 2015, so a study done by Mufarah Al-Qadani, he did a study to find out the techniques that teachers use in teaching vocabulary. So from his finding, most of the methods that he lists out are related to the object itself and uses pictures or media. Then in 2020, study done by Nur Sakina and Rosmalina. They did a study to find the ways that most Malaysian learners prefer in learning vocabulary. So from their finding, most Malaysian learners learn vocabulary the best through multimedia tools such as audio, video games, and audio visual tools. So all these three have one common thing, which is most learners prefer to learn vocabulary using medias. Okay, so the research design. This study employs action research model by chemists and method. It is concerned with what happens in the classroom, and teachers are the researchers to investigate what is happening in the classroom. It was done in 2 cycles, cycle 1 and cycle 2. For cycle 2, the plan was improvised before carrying on with the here is my research participants. I have chosen 3 pupils from the class 4UM, which I taught during my previous practicum session. They are from SK Convent Federary in Kedah. Okay, the participants were chosen because they are among the pupils who scored low in English take-home value test, and they also scored low during my preliminary investigation. their names are also suggested by their English teachers because I would say they have low proficiency in English. All three participants have different attitudes toward learning, where participant 1 are very eager to learn. She always participates in the lesson. Participant 2, she is quite shy, but sometimes she tries to participate in the lesson. However, for participant 3, she seems uninterested in learning. She shies away from the attention. She does not want to participate well. During the Google Meet session, she always closes the camera and closes her mic. Even when I call out her name, she does not respond. And here is the intervention. Here is the cover page, the name of the intervention. And then the main menu, there are 3 things: visionary, memory game, and board game. Visionary is visual dictionary. Okay. Once the student click on the visionary, they will be directed to a page with the list of words. The word list were taken in the DSKP. So once they click on the words, they will be directed to the page. Show the word, the meaning of the word, the example, and also picture to assist the meaning. And the fifth picture is the memory game, where the students will need to flip through the cards and match the words and the picture. Then is the board game. In the board game, the student will need to answer questions for them to move around on the board to reach the finishing line. However, if they answer the questions incorrectly or make a mistake, they will move backward. The instrument for data collection. For document analysis, I have pre-intervention test and post-intervention test. Then observation checklist. Okay. For document for pre-intervention and post-intervention test, the questions are the same, but they are put in different orders to avoid the pupils from memorizing the answer. Okay, and then observation checklist, where the attitude, the participation, and their attention were recorded and observed. And then the interview to ask the students on what they feel using the intervention. Okay, the research procedure. Okay, first I will identify the problem. Then once I identify the problem, I did the intervention. For the intervention, first the research participants were given guidance and explanations on how to use the export kit. Once they were given explanation and all, they are going to learn. They went through a short lesson on the chosen vocabulary using the visionary. Okay, during this learning phase, the students will navigate through the intervention by themselves, so that if they face any problems in using the intervention, I could assist and guide them in order for them to use the intervention outside of the lesson. If they want to play the games or they want to learn it on their own, so they can use it without any problems, without to message me or find me to guide them. Then after they learn, they are going to play the games included in the intervention, the memory game and the board game. Then I make improvement. The participants found that the memory game in the first cycle was very easy for them, and they could finish it in less than 1 minute because they just need to match the picture and the word. So they already have the understanding in that, and it already clicked mind. So the improvement I made is that they need to match the word and also the meaning of word. And it took quite a long time because they does not quite remember the word, the meaning of word. Okay, for data collection procedure, first I did the preliminary investigation, and from there, from the preliminary investigation, I managed to select my research participant. Then before the implementation of intervention, I did the pre-intervention test, then implement the intervention. During the implementation of intervention, I did some observation on the attitude and all. Then at the end of the cycle, I did the post-intervention test with them, and interviewing. Data analysis procedure, document analysis, the pre and post intervention tests were analyzed and compared. In case if they make the same mistakes and on why did they make mistakes. Then observation checklist, the behaviors, gestures, and body language of the participants during the implementation of intervention were observed and recorded. And during the interview at the end of the research session, each of the research participants were interviewed individually so that their answers were not affected by their friends. Okay, the data finding. From document analysis, the participants showed a remarkable improvement in the understanding of vocabulary, because the increments 26.7%, 33.2%. Most of them does not make the same mistake in the post-mention test. During the observation, I could see that the students are very interested in the intervention as they lean toward the screen to look at the intervention, and they pay attention to every details of the explanations given. They also come out with remarks like, wow, cute, like, oh yes, okay, when using the items in the explanation. They are very involved and actively participate in it. And there are also improvement in terms of their attitude we compared from cycle 1 and cycle 2. During the interview, I came out with 3 themes, the vocabulary mastery, preference, and also helpful from the answers that they gave. For discussion, this study was supported by Mayer's cognitive theory of multimedia learning. This theory explained on how multimedia learning works and how to use it effectively in the classroom. For this theory, Mayer's stated that there are limited capacity on how someone process information, and there are separate channels on how for visual information and also auditory. And it is also supported by Stephen Krashen's theory of second language acquisition. Is the effective filter hypothesis. Several effective variables, according to Krashen, play a facilitative effect in language acquisition, the majority of which are related to the pupil's emotional state. So when they felt happy, comfortable in the classroom, so the second language of acquisition happens effectively. So this intervention managed to motivate the students, the participants, to learn vocabulary. There are 2 motivation, intrinsic motivation and also extrinsic motivation. As a conclusion, this research proved that the inclusion of pictures and games is effective in 4 pupils' vocabulary mastery. The Xbox kit is also able to motivate the participant to learn vocabulary, making the lesson more fun for them. It has also helped in improving the mood and making the learning environment to be more stress-free and comfortable for them. The implications of this research: the intervention makes the pupil to be more independent and more responsible for their learning. It also attracts the research participants' interest in learning vocabulary and makes the teaching and learning process to be more enjoyable for both the teacher and also the pupil. Recommendations for future research. If they ever intended to do a visual dictionary or any dictionary, I would suggest them to include sounds, because it include sounds because I think it would include sounds because it will help in the pupils' pronunciation of the words. And then use picture that depicts a real life situation to explain the meaning of the words so that the pupils will be able to relate to the real life situation. And then compatibility, creating an intervention in which the contents are compatible with phones. In my case, some of the applications that I use for the games are not, it is compatible with phone, but not quite good because the pictures become small and all. So I think it is better to find applications that are compatible with phones and for their eyesight. That's all from me. For your presentation, the ceremony will now
Thank you. And thank you, Karen. Congratulations, you have finished your presentation. Okay. I have several questions actually, but just focus on one lah. Huh? Okay. How did you relate one of the theories, for example, Krashen's fraction filter theory, to your study?
For example, for effective filter have these functions. Said that okay. So according to question, several effective variables play a facilitative effect in speech acquisition, the majority which are related to people's emotional state. So for me in my study, I include the games, which actually I was inspired by my students because during my practical session, they always ask me like, "Still, what game do you play?" and all, and they look so happy talking about the games, and they could talk about it non-stop. So when I see that they enjoy playing games, and so I included this in my intervention, and how I related with different characters theory, because people's emotional state are important in their language acquisition. When they feel happy, it is easier for them to absorb the information because they are interested. They want to hear what the teachers are saying. They want to learn.
Okay, thank you. Good answer. Kamanga?
My question is on methodology. What method do you use? It's not stated clearly. Yeah, we have quantitative, we have qualitative, but there is quantitative also.
Because of document.
This is a mixed method, qualitative or quantitative. What method you use?
Action research.
Action research. Yeah, I just want to know if you have used, yeah, but because you have interviewed, itu sudah qualitative lah. Lepas tu you have also quantitative, isn't it? You have data, isn't it? So your method here is clearly mixed method. Okay. So in the methodology, you must say it's a mixed method. Sebab ada qualitative, ada quantitative, interview ada, observation ada, itu sudah quali dah. Bila ada data, dia quantitative. So you must know, of course, the methodology is very important, isn't it? Okay, sampling. Sampling you berdasarkan apa? Sample. Berapa orang you ambil?
3 people.
3 people. Okay. For quanti also you ambil 3. Okay.
Because for the document analysis, it's not just the data. For data, I just said about the documents to show that they improve compared from the pre-intervention test and the post-intervention test. But actually, in the thesis, I have a quick analysis on which, if these questions they got it wrong, why? And then I see if they make the same mistake. If they make the same mistake, we'll ask the first on the analyze on why did they make the same mistake? Why are they still confused about the vocabulary?
Okay. Okay. Even though this is action research, that means your scope is very small. But when it comes to methodology, you must be clear. Actually, there is 2 methodologies saja. Quanti dengan quality, quanti dengan quali. Lepas tu ada mixed method. Ini data quantitative, interview observation qualitative. So your research is mixed method. You have to state that, so that people will understand. It's just for penambahbaikan lah. On the whole, it's okay and it's good. Thank you. Because the topic is very current.
Okay, my comment, Kamanga, actually, Kamanga. Actually, for action research, it is qualitative. Even though the data is presented as such in the numerical number, in numerical form, that is not we are not focusing on the number. You're focusing on the improvement.
No, my problem is she must state what is her.
Yeah, but you must say that it's actually it's
That's why
quality.
I'm asking you, is it quality or quantity? Okay, or mixed method? You must state. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So you must be sure what method.
Method.
Thank you, thank you.
From A very good morning. I'm friends. My name is Zari Sardiana binti Kamaludin from Section 2, and I will be presenting on my research entitled Teaching Strategies and Students' Improvement of Speaking Skills during Online Teaching, which is supervised by Madam Nolisa binti Raza. So the first one is the background of study. In learning English, speaking skill is a medium of oral communication to help students to develop their competencies. And according to Rianisi 2015, the students are considered as proficient in English if they have a good comprehension, grammar, vocabularies, pronunciation, fluency, and also accuracy. However, due to the increase of the COVID-19 cases in our country and also worldwide, face-to-face classes had to be stopped and replaced with online teaching. And due to these circumstances, teachers are forced to adapt themselves with this situation and to choose teaching strategies that are suitable for online learning. So the statement of problem, according to Abdul Rahman 2021, in learning English, mastering speaking is the main concern and a priority for most ESL students. And in order to master speaking, according to Gibbons, interaction is the main factor in the development of language. So according to these statements, there are several strategies that can be used that increase interaction, which is role play, group discussion, sharing experience, and also fair work information gap. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it is uncertain whether these strategies are suitable to be implemented during online teaching. So these are the purpose of the study. The first one is to determine the most appropriate teaching strategy used by teachers during online teaching and also the improvement of students' speaking skills. The second one is to find out whether the teaching strategies used by teachers during online teaching influences the improvement of students' speaking skills. So these are the research objectives or the RO for the study. The RO1 is to determine the teaching strategies for speaking skill used by teachers during online teaching. The second one is to find out the improvement of students' speaking skill during online teaching. And last one is to identify the correlation between the teaching strategies for speaking skill used by teachers during online teaching and the improvement of students' speaking skill. So based on the research objectives just now, these are the research questions. RQ1, what are the teaching strategies for speaking skill used by teachers during online teaching? RQ2, is there any improvements of students' speaking skill during online teaching? And RQ3, is there any significant correlation between the teaching strategies for speaking skill used by teachers during online teaching and the improvements of students' speaking skill? Okay, so moving on to the significance of this research, that can be divided into three parts, which is the first one for English primary school teachers. The second one is for school administrators and also future researchers. Okay, for the first one, the significance of this research is it can be used as a reference for English primary school teachers in determining appropriate speaking skill strategies to be used during online teaching. And the second one, for the school administrators, they can provide adequate resources and materials to assist the English teachers in implementing the appropriate teaching strategies for speaking skills. And also for future researchers, this research can help them to study on the teaching strategies to develop student skills in English during teaching. And next, I will be explaining on the past researchers that have been reviewed in this study. The first one is on the teaching strategies for speaking skills. Okay, so according to Anjani Putra 2013, the teachers use creative tasks, cooperative activities, reading, and role play as the strategy for speaking skills. And it's also found that the students responded positively towards these strategies. And another one by Rusandi 2021, it shows that the teachers use speaking skills, storytelling, dialogue, giving opinion, and songs in online teaching. And these strategies also help to increase the students' vocabulary, creativity, imagination, self-confidence, and also pronunciation. Okay. Another past research is on the online teaching. Based on a study by Nina and Fatima 2021, there are several problems in online teaching, which includes managing time and also teaching strategies problems. So based on the findings of this study, it is found that English teachers are able to reduce the challenges of online teaching by aligning the solution with each student out. Next is the research design of this study, which is quantitative active survey. The reason for choosing this type of research design is to collect information of population's opinions, behaviors, attitudes, and also beliefs. So this is the population and sample for the study. Firstly, the population involved English teachers in primary schools in the area of Tempat, Kuala Lumpur. And the sampling method that I use is cluster sampling method, which categorize the population into several groups called clusters. Okay? And then the sample involved 50 English teachers from 7 different primary schools. Okay, so this is the research instruments that I use in this study, which is questionnaire. The questionnaire was devised using Google Form, and there are 27 items in this questionnaire, which was divided into 5 sections. And the respondents are required to choose one answer from 5-point ordinal scale for each statement, which starts from 1 totally disagree and until 5, which is totally agree. And for the administration of the questionnaire, I have used 2 methods, which is online method and also offline. For the online method, I have distributed the Google Form link to the respondents through WhatsApp or Telegram. And for the offline method, I have visited the targeted schools by distributing the QR code of the Google Form to the respondents. Next is the research procedure. The first procedure is to select the topic and then followed by the clarification of research objectives and also research questions. And then reviewing literature, which involves the related theory and also past researches. And then the research design, it was selected, followed by data collection, data analysis, and also drawing conclusion. So for the data collection procedure, firstly, the items in the questionnaire was being constructed and it was validated by my supervisor in terms of its clarity, ease of usage and wording and so on. And the questionnaire was, and I have conducted a pilot study in which the Cronbach alpha value shows a value of 0.86, which is considered reliable. And then the questionnaire was being altered to improve its validity and also reliability before being administered to the respondents. So this is the data analysis procedures. Firstly, the data was being analyzed using SPSS version 26. The data was being analyzed descriptively using mean value. It was transformed into frequency tables in order to get a better view of the data findings. And it was also analyzed using inferential, which is Pearson correlation. And lastly, a written report has been produced. Okay, so we move on to the data findings for the descriptive analysis first. Okay, so this table shows a mean score of highest variable of each research question. For research question 1, we can see that sharing experience variable had the highest mean of 3.713. Meanwhile, for research question 2, role play variable shows a mean value of 4.006. Okay, so based on the table, the discussion for descriptive analysis based on the research questions. Firstly, we look at the research question 1.
So based on the research question 1, the finding shows that sharing experience was chosen as the teaching strategy that the respondents implemented during online teaching. And this is supported by Anjani 2013, which says that sharing experience is a great and effective to be used in online teaching as it can be easily implemented. For research question 2, based on the findings, it shows that there are indeed some improvement of students' speaking skills that mostly influenced by the use of role play. So this is also supported by Sunardi and others, 2013, which says that the students' performance in speaking is improved by using role play as a teaching strategy. Okay, so the next one is the data findings for inferential analysis. So this is a table that shows the correlation between teaching strategies for speaking skill and also the improvement of students' speaking skill. As we can see here, the Pearson correlation R equals to 0.925, and the sigma value shows 0.000, which is considered significant because it is lower than 0.01. Okay. So the discussions of the inferential analysis is based on research question 3. So the finding shows that the value of Pearson correlation is very strong. This shows that it indicates a high positive correlation between the two variables, which is the teaching strategies and the improvement of students. So the conclusion for the analysis, firstly, most of the English teachers use role play as the teaching strategy for speaking skill during online teaching, as it is easy to be implemented and it had eased their online teaching process. Besides that, among the 4 strategies, which is role play, group discussion, pair work, information gap, and also sharing experience, role play mainly contributes to the students' improvement. And lastly, there is a very strong correlation between the two variables that I have stated. So for the implications of this study can be divided into 2 parts, which is for the English teachers and also school administrators. Firstly, the implication of this study can be used by the English teachers in identifying the suitable and effective teaching strategies to be implemented during online learning. And they can also choose the easiest teaching strategies to bring out the students' improvement in speaking skill, especially during online teaching. And for school administrators, they can help in providing sources and materials for the teachers to implement the strategies. And also they can ensure all students manage to participate in online teaching to maximize the interaction among the students. And lastly, is the recommendations for the study. The first one is for English teachers. English teachers are recommended to utilize the use of role play and sharing experience to cater the students' problems in English, especially during online teaching. And the second one, English teachers are also recommended to develop knowledge on how to conduct these strategies to maximize the students' improvement in speaking skills. And the next one is for further research. Future researchers should target respondents from different school areas to observe the differences in the viewpoints of the teachers. For example, in this study, the schools located in urban areas. So future researchers should target respondents from different areas such as suburban or rural areas. And another one is future researchers are also recommended to study on other skills in English such as listening, reading, and also writing. That's all.
And Dr. Manga. I always forget to. Okay. Thank you. Congratulations. Very good presentation and interesting topic. Okay, I have several questions, but I think I'll ask you 2 questions. Okay. First is how did you choose the sample? And then question number 2, can you explain more about your finding, which is what do you mean by the most For the
Yes.
most the sharing experience. Can you explain more about that? What does it mean?
The sharing experience.
Yeah.
I'm question, which is how do I select my sample?
Yes.
Okay, so in this study, I have chosen the cluster sampling method. This is because of the problem of time constraint. So if I choose every school in the area of Tempat, it is not convenient for me. So I decided to use cluster sampling method that can divide the population into several groups or clusters. And from the clusters, I can choose several schools that suitable that are effective for me to conduct the study. So I have chosen the 7 out of 9 schools, which is the criteria that I choose is the number of English teachers in the school. For example, if the school has more than 5 English teachers, so I choose that school. Okay. So for the second question, which is the sharing experience strategy. Sharing experience strategy is the same as storytelling, but the students tell stories from their own experience, their own experience. But it is like the same as storytelling, but it's slightly different because they can relate to their own
It
experience.
means in the part of the student. On
Yes.
part. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think this is a very good presentation, very clear. Can you go to sampling? You went to a cluster sampling, can? Okay. Yesterday, most of you all were doing Mohan and Krinchi table sampling. There is many type of sampling. This is cluster sampling, very clearly stated. Good. Then go to this quantitative, your methodology, the research, next. Methodology apa you cover tadi? Before lagi. Quantitative, right? Okay, still clearly stated. It doesn't matter like you have to learn something, yeah, in this seminar or whatever. The sampling and the methodology is very important. Okay. Okay. Now, only one question. Can you explain to me the limitation of this research?
So I believe that the limitation of this research is on the respondents because not all the schools have a large number of English teachers in the schools. So that's why my sample only involved 50 English teachers because some of the schools, there are one school or two schools that have more than 10 English teachers, but there are also schools that have only 3 or 2 English teachers. So I think that is the limitation, which is the number of respondents.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. Thank you. Pengerusi ada berapa orang? Lepas ni 3. Lepas tu? Okay. Saya ingat ada 12. Kalau 12 saya malu. I'm not feeling well.
26.
Semalam we had 6 as well.
Oh, I have 5.
We had 6. Kalau 6 tambah 6, I can.
Semua.
Some a lot of things now. Not actually no this evaluation I pun cuti hari ni.
What happened to me before the break?
COVID ada. Kalau ada COVID, I take 2 weeks already. Check COVID clinic negative. This is common cold.
Because now is the
Season.
the season, the weather changes. I think we don't need the break.
Yalah, we can
I
carry
just
on.
continue lah. Lagi cepat habis lagi.
Yeah, we can continue. Who is the next one?
Yes, start.
Walaupun phone number ada channel to sign up, and so today I will present my research titled Investigating the Level of Interest in Reading English Materials among the ESL students in RPG KBRI. So my name is Munira. I'm from TSS4. My supervisor is Madam Norliza Binti Abdul. Okay, let's go to the background of the study. Malaysian is reported that they read an average of 2 books per year. These give the deep negative impact on the students, especially for those who are in tertiary level of education, and it will slow down the process of English mastery progress among the university students. This research done by Ahmad in 2015. Next, reading interest can also be referred as a function in reading a specific yet precise topic, and genre is also defined as the essence and sort of books such as mystery, romance novels, poetry, academic, and many others. And this is done by Jackson in 1999. And there are also many benefits of reading, includes to shape the mind, help in character creations, and also to broaden the mental horizons of the students, done by Scandary in 2017. And the last one is according to Young in 2014, reading English material is actually one of the easiest ways in order to increase vocabulary, which is the key to learn English as well. By reading, one will be able to access to a wide range of knowledge in the various types of reading materials, such as books, magazines, journals, and okay, the statement of the problems. Okay, let's look at it. Reading interest can be eroded when the teachers are not able to identify the students' interests and needs in reading skill. And this is a really big problem for those who are learning language, and no motivation and support given by the teachers for the students to read can be also the most problem faced by the students daily. And among the problems that lead to the lack of reading interest in English materials is their laziness and unwillingness to read. They consider English is difficult, and they also try to avoid from reading English. And this is a research done by Alhamdu in 2015. And then the third statement is from Edman and Bozeman in 2006, whereby they state that the genre that they want to read is not available, then it will not emerge their motivation that will influence the student to read. It means like when they have no the when there are no specific genre that they want to read, so they have no motivations to read, especially English materials. And the last one is reading interest will not be produced well when there are no suitable environment that will encourage them to read English material. Okay, my purpose of the study, the purpose of this research study is actually to investigate the level of interest in reading English materials among ESL students in IPG-KRI. Okay, my research objective, I have three. The first one is to find out the students' level of interest in reading English material. The second objective is to identify the differences in male and female students' interest in reading English materials. And the last objective is to find out the most preferred genre in reading English materials among ESL students in IPG-KRI. Next, my research questions, I also have three. And the first one is, what is the level of ESL students' interest in reading English materials? The second question, are there any differences between male and also female students' interest in reading English materials? And the last question is, which genre is preferred most in reading English materials among the students in IPG-PRI? Okay. Significance of the research.
The result of this finding study will surely be beneficial for the students, also to the teachers, parents, administrators, and even the researchers, yet to individuals who wants to know more about the reading English materials. The finding of the study also will contribute to the practical value of English teachers, especially the English teachers, in order to instill the reading interest among the ESL students. This paper will also focus on the genre most preferred by the students and also to know the differences between the genders' interest in reading. Okay. Next, related past researchers, reading experts perceive that reading interests have significant impacts on people's success. According to SE 2002, it is also stated that the person who learn to read, they will be better in reading because they will gain more vocabulary so that they will be successful. And several academics have explored and found variations in reading preferences, reading performance, and strategy used between male and female students. Okay, the last one, related past researchers, according to Arkis, Orbix, and also Renandia's 2007 studies, students are interested and experience joy and so happiness when they are reading. They indicate that EFL or ESL students who have good reading habits, they will have highly entertaining reading practices, vast amount of reading, and also good proficiency in English. Okay. My research design, I use quantitative method in terms of survey. My population and sample, okay, consists of 138 students, and also the sample consists of 20 students from 3 batches, 2018, 2019, and also 2020 index. Okay, my instrument, in order to collect the data, I use Questionnaire and the Google Form as my medium, and I provide with 5 Likert scale, and it consists of 40 items included with demographic information, and overall it contains 10 sections. And the instruments are actually adapted from Erna Iftanti 2012. Okay, my research procedures. The first procedure is that I identify the issue, and then after identify, I treat and I look for the suitable title, and then I choose the sample and populations, purposive sampling method, and then writing, and I write the proposal. After that finish, I get the approval from my supervisor, and after that continue with the pilot study, and then calculating the reliability of instrument, collecting data, and the last one is write the report and present it. Okay. The data collection procedures. Okay, the first step in order to do this analysis, I get approval from the supervisor, and after that, I distribute the Google form to the ESL student, usual through the WhatsApp applications. And after that, I collect the data from them and convert into the Excel spreadsheet. And I use SPSS as well to analyze the data collected. Okay. So using SPSS version M2, I use it to do descriptive analysis for my research question 1 and also research question 3. And after that, I also got reliability 0.735. And I do independent sample t-test for my research question number 2, and the last one, writing a report. Okay, this is the data findings from my research question number 1. What is the level of ESL students' interest in reading English materials? Okay, there are 3, 1, 2, 3, the amount of reading practice, the number of books, and the number of published writings are among the items that score lowest among the ESL students. And the highest value is the belief of the ESL for reading English. Actually, from these findings, I get to know that ESL students, they have positive belief, motivation, purposes about reading English materials. But at the same time, the amount of reading practice, the number of books, and the number of published writings are actually not in line with their motivation, belief, and so on. It can be concluded that most of the ESL students actually do not indicate to have good English reading habits, even though they have formally learned English from elementary school to university. Okay, next. Okay. My data findings for my research question number 2. Are there any differences in reading English materials? So here, there are 3 items that have no significant difference. And they are the amount of reading practice, the number of published writings, and the respondents' spends on their reading habits. Okay, next, these are the items that got significant differences. Research question number 3, which genre is preferred most in reading English? Okay, what can I say that ESL students in IPG, they choose to read fictions rather than non-fiction. And it's the conclusion for this data finding that I have found out. Next. Okay, the discussions for overall data findings, it can be considered as ESL students, they have positive purposes, belief, motivations, and so on. But still, there are many factors that influence the level of interest in reading English materials. And the number 3, majority of them are fiction readers. And the last one, online reading, also one of the favorite style among ESL students in IPG-KDRI. In conclusion, there are many factors influence the level of interest in reading English, and so it could also be concluded most students they aware of importance of reading, but what becomes an issue here, what I mentioned earlier, they might not practice what they believe, and this implied that they were aware of the benefit of reading, but they might fail to translate the knowledge into the action of reading. And reading English materials as the assessment actually is important, and it is undeniable for us as the learner to read English. The recommendation and suggestion, the first one is suggestion for further research to study about the digital reading and also the locality, the background towards the reading habit. And the second one is the researcher would like to suggest further research focused on the genre of fiction and also non-fiction in ESL's language learning. And number 3, future researcher needs to find new and stress on digital reading as well as I mentioned earlier. The majority of ESL students here in this campus, they choose digital reading as well. Okay, the implications that we can try, number 1 is to provide or to create classroom library in each classroom in order to instill the reading habit among the students. And number 2, they can have a book review sessions with their own mentors. And also number 3, they should get motivations and support from teachers or lecturers. One is digital reading. Okay, that's all from.
Thank you for your presentation. The second
Thank you. Congratulations. Bilik? Okay, I have several questions. Which one I want to ask? Okay, let's look at the Chromebook Alpha. Okay, the reliability value there, 0.735. What does it mean?
The values here, from what I have read in order to this, it is stated by WIM 2008. It is stated that the Chromebook Alpha's value between 0.6 and above, it is acceptable for students to do research. It means like the instrument used in order to collect the data is acceptable and it is.
What happens if the value is below 0.6?
If the value is below, then it means that the question is not really good. It means like the question is not in line with the research question, research objective, and it's not tally with the, and it's not suitable with the respondents. From me.
Okay, another question. What is your hypothesis?
This is that I can make is that uh, ESL students in PGKDRI do have positive motivation, belief, and purpose, but at the same time, they still lack in reading English materials.
What I mean is for research question 3, is it? The differences.
Number 3 or number
Number 2.
or number 2 open. This one you mean?
The hypothesis. What was your hypothesis for this research question?
There are differences between male and female students interested in reading English materials in several items.
So was your hypothesis accepted?
Yes.
Okay. So that's all from me.
Saya pun tak ada soalan. Tapi kalau kita boleh, if we can look at this, your alpha again, yang tu boleh pergi kat situ dah. Okay, 0.75. According to siapa kata 0.6?
WIM 2008.
Okay. You clearly state that, okay? Because some researchers say the value is 0.7. So you just state according to siapa 0.6. Okay.
You mean I need to take in this slide or
Anywhere lah. Okay. If you want to improve lah,
yes.
just a suggestion to improve. State the source. So you are in a better position lah. Okay, itu aja. Sebab it varies. Some say 0.6, some say 0.7. So you follow siapa. Okay. Thank you. Itu aja. Thank you.
Okay, Doctor.
Siti, Siti kan?
From lesson 3.
Okay. Can start.
Start.
Yes, you may.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good I'm sorry, I want to start this time for myself. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good evening. I bid to the respective experts and supervisors for the second session of Viva presentation, Dr. Zainab as the first panel and Dr. Manga as the second panel. Okay, and my salam sejahtera to all my fellow friends and involved candidates in this room. I am Hashim and I am going to present my research entitled A Survey on the Main Factor Affecting Reading Comprehension Skills Among Year 6 Pupils of SD Meranti. So I am going to start off with the background of the study. Okay. Actually, this conducted research is actually enhanced by the purpose needs of the learners. Because, for example, the fluency and proficiency in English are actually demanded in Malaysian education blueprint in 2030 and 2025. So they are required to understand the concept of phonological awareness, phonemic awareness, alphabetic awareness, syntactic awareness, and the semantic knowledge. So they are expected to achieve the high level of knowledge according to the language learning. But before that, they have to understand how the definitions work in language learning. For example, reading is the process of constructing meaning from written text. Meanwhile, the comprehension is the process of simultaneously extracting and constructing meaning through interaction and involvement with written language. So when the students finally understand the definitions of this language learning, they can draw conclusions towards language acquisition, communication, sharing information and ideas, sub-vocalization, and word recognition. Okay, next. Okay, so let's move on to the statement of the problem. Okay, So the main problem of my research is the low proficiency of reading among primary school pupils, because based on the new Straits Times published in 2019, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, actually has shown the scores for mathematics, reading, and scientific literacy in PISA 2018. And actually, PISA 2018 has shown a significant improvement compared to the PISA 2015 and 2012, where it achieved below the global average score. However, most of the Malaysian students are actually still struggling with the language acquisition, which include reading comprehension skill. Okay, because according to the former Education Director General, Datuk Dr. Amin Senin, PISA 2018 survey on Malaysian students noted that they do not enjoy reading as a hobby compared to the survey on students in PISA 2009. These findings show that the students only read when they are forced to, or for a specific reason, and not as an interest. Okay, next. Okay, as you can see here, this is the chart for world's best country for the education system in 2020. Malaysia ranked 63rd out of the 93 countries in the entire world for 2020. So these education systems are actually evaluated based on the two standardized options, which are quality index and the opportunity index. Okay, next. Okay, so this is the purpose of the study. Okay, so the purpose is to determine the main contributing factor of the reading comprehension skill among year 6 pupils, to identify the catalyst of the pupils' improvement towards reading comprehension, and to understand how the children listen to a variety of words since they were little, and how they develop an imagination using sound recognition skills, and to find out how language acquisition can motivate pupils surrounding and environments to understand and master the language better. Okay, so next, this is my research objective, which is the first one is to identify the main factor that affect reading comprehension skills among year 6 pupils, and to determine the significant differences in the mean score of reading comprehension skills between male and female of year 6. Okay. Meanwhile, the research question is, what is the main factor that affects reading comprehension skill among year 6 pupils? And what are the significant differences in the mean score of reading comprehension skills between male and female of year 6? Okay, so this is my research significance. So the result of my research can actually come off useful to different authorities. So the first one is the responsible party. So they can actually get the ideas of how knowledge is acquired, and then they can modify the techniques in learning, such as the curriculum makers, the Ministry of Education. Okay. Second one is the future educators, which is us. Okay. So we can use this opportunity to connect with the linguistic knowledge by decoding words, expression, and punctuation in English learning. We can also emphasize the connection of the reading process with everyday situation and social context with the students in the classroom. And the last one is the pupils themselves. When they finally understand how text can be accomplished in various characters, or when they are exposed to the effective main factor in the reading comprehension skill, for example, the language art, they can finally comprehend the cohesion, coherence, and next. They can also identify the main ideas, supporting details, and they can make connection between paragraphs because they understand what the text is about. The next. Okay, so this is my related past researchers. Okay, actually there are a lot of past researchers that I have integrated in my recent research, but these are the 4 main past researchers that I want to talk about, which is they focus a lot on the factors that affect reading comprehension skill, but they set the different target for the respondents, and they set the different factors that affect reading comprehension skill. For example, the first one that they focus a lot on decoding and the summarizing. Meanwhile, the second research, they focus a lot on the phonics-based sentence method and decoding, which actually affected by the socio-economic status of the students. And the third one is affected by home-related factor, learner-related factor, teacher-related factor. And the last one is related to the teacher characteristic, support structures, and reading strategies. Okay, so next. Okay, so this is the research design. Okay, so I have implemented the survey research, which is a quantitative method, and it is a flexible research approach for statistical data, which I have included 126 pupils. Okay, and the type of survey deployment method that I want to apply is actually paper survey. But unfortunately, I have to take up another initiative uh, uh, because of the number of COVID cases increasing in the school at the moment. So my another initiative is the Google Form platform. Okay, so next, population example. Okay. So the population example is involving the 6 pupils of SK Meranti in Pasir Mas District, Kelantan. And I have selected 126 pupils for this research, which is involving one class, which is 34 pupils for pilot study, and 3 classes, which comprise of 92 pupils for the authentic data, which is the sample. And these students are mixed abilities pupils, because they are not sorted for different classes because they have no examination. And there are no favors and biasness towards the pupils in conducting this research. Okay, next, the instruments that I have applied is the questionnaire. And I have shared the link of the questionnaire, which is the Google platform, using WhatsApp group, because I have some numbers of the pupils, because I actually taught them when I was actually teaching them in during practicum 2. Okay, and I also give instructions on the questionnaires based on the Likert scale, which refers to 1 for strongly agree, 2 for disagree, 3 for not sure or undecided, but it tend more to the disagree, 4 for agree, and 5 for strongly agree. And there are 3 sections that I have created based on the questionnaire, which is the first one is language art, prior knowledge, and collaborative learning. The next, research procedures. Okay, so actually my research procedure is actually quite related to the validity and reliability, which is validity is I focus a lot on how the past research affected my current research. Okay, so as you can see here, the past research we focus on reading attitude, reading strategies, and reading method. So I actually implemented the questionnaire based on the pupils' ways of learning. I redesigned and modified, which is related with the language arts, prior knowledge, and collaborative learning. Okay, so the reliability, you can see here, this is the table for reliability provided by Ahika in 2017. Okay, so next. Okay, as you can see here, this is the Chromback Alpha score of my pilot study. So I managed to get 0.96 for my pilot study, which defines that I can continue or proceed with the next data. Okay, next, data collection procedures. Okay, so the instruments of the questionnaires will be evaluated in the first place by involving the 1 class comprised of 34 pupils out of the 4 classes of year 6 pupils, so that I can test the authenticity and validity of the questionnaire. And the sample chosen is actually based on the population of year 6 pupils in SK Meranti, because there are only 4 classes of year 6 in SK Meranti. And the gathered data of the pilot study will not be included in the data analysis. And then after that, the questionnaires will be distributed to the 92 other pupils from 3 different classes. Okay, next, data analysis procedures. Okay, so I have implemented 2 different analysis for my research, which is the first one is descriptive analysis. Okay, so the reason why I choose this descriptive is because I want to find the main factor that affect reading comprehension skills among year 6 pupils. And the data will be measured based on the percentage of the pupils on the Likert scale that I have stated just now. And the collected data will be processed and gone through the SPSS software. Meanwhile, the impression analysis is conducted to determine the significant differences in the mean score of reading comprehension skill between male and female of year 6. And the hypotheses are also constructed and stated in this research, which to define whether there is significant differences or no significant differences in the mean score of reading comprehension skill based on gender. And the t-test value will be evaluated to define whether these 2 groups have same level of significance or no significant significant difference at all. Okay, so next, data findings and discussion. Yes, as you can see here, this is a table that I have overview of my analysis per item for each table, for each variable, which is the first one is language art. And after I compute all the data in the SPSS software, I managed to get the mean value and standard deviation value for another variables. Okay, so the highest mean is actually defined the main factor that affect reading comprehension skills. So as you can see here, the highest mean here is the collaborative learning, which is 3.84. So it means that collaborative learning is the main factor that affect reading comprehension skills. Okay, so next, this is the inferential analysis, the hypothesis of inferential analysis. So when the t-test value is lower than 0.05, okay, so the alternative hypothesis will be accepted. But if the t-test value is higher than 0.05, the null hypothesis will be accepted. Okay, next, okay, as you can see here, okay, so this is the overview of the table that I have done for the t-test value. Okay, so the value of t-test significant for all three variables are very high than 0.05, which means that there is no significant differences in the mean score of reading comprehension skill between male and female of year 6, which means that they have same level of performance in learning English and towards these three variables. Next, so conclusion. Based on the descriptive analysis that I have done, the mean value for collaborative learning variable is at very high level compared to the language arts and the prior knowledge, which is 3.84. So it means that collaborative learning is the main factor that affects reading comprehension skills among year 6 pupils. So, and the second one is the inferential analysis. The t-test results reveal that both male and female have equal performance for all three variables because the values are higher than 0.05. When the values are higher than 0.05, it means that there is no significant differences in the mean score. Okay. So recommendations. Okay. So recommendations. The further researcher can actually try to utilize the factors that affect reading comprehension skills, and they can also try to change the factors for further research on reading comprehension skills. Maybe they can touch a lot on the sex, motivation, techniques of learning, materials, and a lot more. So they can also focus on different area for further research because I focus a lot. SK Meranti is actually located in urban area. So of course they have different background of knowledge. Then the last one is that the further research can also set different targeted respondents for their research. Okay, and the last one is the implications. Okay. The involved organizations can try to improve courses and practices in providing the best assistance in educational institutions. And the curriculum makers can fully aware so that they can redesign their national policy which utilize the full use of collaborative learning because the collaborative learning is the main factor that affects reading comprehension skills. And teachers can equip themselves with effective methods that can help them to design a classroom that meets the needs of the learners. And the last one is that Ministry of Education can set the target to develop the pupils to become a holistic person as stated in the national philosophy. So I think that's all from me. Thank you. For your presentation.
Thank you. Congratulations. A very clear and confident presentation. Okay. So I think I will ask on the very general questions. What has this the experience of conducting this research taught you? What has the experience of conducting this research has taught you?
Has taught me. Actually, a lot of things I am learning when I was conducting this research because it is actually related to my challenges in conducting this research. Because when I was conducting this research, I was quite unsure about what to do, and I was also unsure on how to apply the pilot study and how to use the SPSS software because I was unaware of it. When my friends
talk about it, I was flabbergasted. I was quite surprised because I do not even know about that. So after that, I learned a lot. So I learned how to collect the data. I learned how to reach the students, and also it is also quite difficult for me to reach the students during the collecting data process because I want to do it during face-to-face interaction with them in school. But unfortunately, because of the high number of COVID cases at that school at the moment, I have to think of another initiative, which is I give them the Google Form platform. But unfortunately, of course, most of them also did not spend a lot of time to read my instruction and answer the Google Form platform. So I have to reach out them for so many times, and after that, they will help me a lot. Yeah, so I think that's what I learned, and I also learned how to conduct this research. I learned how to talk with my friends a lot about it. So I think that's all for me.
Will you continue doing another research after this? Masters?
Inshallah, Doctor.
Okay, before I pass to Dr. Manga, there's one thing that I noticed with all of you. Until last semester, you're still using fellow friends. I think I have taught you earlier, the first semester PP SMP. Fellow and friends, they are the same. So you can use fellow researchers. Tak nampaklah kelas sikit. Ya? Fellow apa? Classmates ke fellow audience.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay.
Okay, your presentation was good. Everything was there, almost perfect. But I want you to go to sampling. You can improve a little bit. Sampling. Dia ada 120. You pilih 100 yang ada 126 sampel.
Yes, Doctor.
Why?
Because 126 pupils are all the pupils of the 6 people in SKM.
Oh, so 100% lah.
No. This is the total altogether for pilot study and 90 pupils for the sample.
So altogether is 126.
126.
Wah, perfect lah. 100%. Okay, baguslah. Atau kalau you pilih kurang daripada 100%, you based on one theory. Mungkin Mohan and Kerinci table. Dia ada itu kan berapa. Jadi you will be, nobody will question kalau professor mana you buat masters ke apa nanti. Oh ni based on this theory, table ni saya pilih berapa, dia takkan dapat soal. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So I was maybe saya terlepas pandang. You chose 100%. So that is good. Nobody can question lah. Now I want to see your hull theory. Now your hypothesis kan? Untuk ada berapa soalan?
Soalan, research question. Two.
You pakai null.
Yes.
So it is negative statement kan? Mana?
Yes.
Yeah. HO and
There is
HO.
no.
Okay, good. Okay. Hanya just to improve lah. Just now I missed this. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Well
thank you,
done.
Doctor.
Thank you. Now please welcome.
Can I start?
Yes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. I am Nurul Farzana binti Muhammad Nur from PISMP Semester 3, and I will be presenting my research with the title A Survey on Parental Involvement in English Language Acquisition at Home. So first and foremost, we will take a look at the background of the study. The study grew out of my interest in the Malaysian parents' involvement in their children's English language acquisition at home.
This research aims at finding out the Malaysian parents' involvement in their children's English learning process and acquisition in relation to their demographic characteristics and relationship with the English teachers. The statement of the problem, it becomes a general stereotype that mothers should bear the responsibility of educating their children at home. And it is claimed that genders are one of the predominant factors in parents' involvement in children's language acquisition. A study by Yosihan and Wu Peiju state that mothers engage more in expensive and mentoring their children's learning as compared to the fathers. And there are some claims that the locality of the household affects parental involvement in their children's language acquisition and learning, in which children that live in the urban area are able to speak English more fluently as compared to those that live in suburban and rural areas. This is a study by Setiati Ningsi in 2017. In addition, English teachers and parents need to communicate and collaborate in order to help the children in acquiring the language. The children need a constant and safe environment for their language acquisition to take place. The purpose of the study. This study aims to contribute to this growing area of research by exploring parental involvement in their children's English language as a second language acquisition at home. There are three research objectives in my paper. The first one is to identify whether parental involvement in their children's English as a second language acquisition at home differs based on the gender, to find out the differences between the household localities and parental involvement in their children's language acquisition, and the last one, to figure out whether there is a correlation between the relationship of the parents and English language teachers with their involvement in English language acquisition at home. And there are three research questions that will help to answer the objective. Number one, does the parents' involvement in their children's English language acquisition at home differ based on gender? Number two, does the locality of the household, urban, suburban, and rural, affect the parents' involvement in their children's English language acquisition at home? And the last one, is there a correlation between the relationship of the parents and English language teachers with the involvement in their children's English language acquisition at home? The significance of the research. This study will be a major contribution to research on parental involvement based on the parent's gender. And this study is crucial to encourage parental involvement in their children's English language acquisition at home without regard of their gender and household locality. And this study is important as it will help the English language teachers and parents to build a good relationship in order to help their children acquire the second language well. Okay, there are four main past researchers that I have referred to for my study. The first one is by Ferenci and Post 2018. The researcher focuses on parents' perception towards their involvement and also their relationship between parental involvement level with variables such as age, gender, educational background, and proficiency level of the parents. And the second one is by Yosihan and Wu Peiju 2016. It focuses on the differences between father and mother's involvement in their children's educational development. The result of the study shows that mothers are more involved in the regard of their children's educational aspect. And the third one is by Mathubala Babaharji and others. The researcher aims to determine the level of parental involvement in their children's English as a second language development. The findings of the study claims that there is a clear partnership between the parents, children, and teacher in developing children's English as a second language literacy. And the last one is by Nurul Huda Sattar and friends. They studied about parental involvement in education among urban families in Malaysia. The findings state that the urban family realizes the importance of education. However, most families were unable to be actively involved in their children's learning as they need to focus on searching for income to cope with the increasing living costs in the urban area. Okay, this is my research design. I decided to go for a quantitative approach and I focuses on inferential statistics and I deployed a survey method. Okay, for population and sample, the population of this study was 100 parents of children aged 5 to 12 years old in urban, suburban, and rural areas in Kedah. Sample size for the study was active parents that was determined by Reggie and Morgan's sample size determination table. For data collection instruments, I used questionnaires and it was divided into 3 sections, A, B, and C. For section A, I focuses on the demographic of the respondents, the gender, age, and their household locality, which is urban, suburban, or rural area. And for section B is the nature of how the parents give to their children at home. It consists of 12 items. And section C is the parents' relationship with the English language teachers and consists of 8 items. And I use hybrid scale patients ranging from 1 to 5, which one is always 2, usually 3, sometimes 4 rarely, and 5 never. For the research procedures, firstly, I create the questionnaires. The questionnaires were adapted from LSE and OS, which was my main reference for my study. And then I seek for approval of the questionnaires by Madam Norliza. And then I conducted the pilot study, which involved 15 respondents as suggested by Dunya. And the reliability value of the alpha test is 0.92, which is excellent. And then for data collection procedures, firstly, I obtained approval of the research title from my supervisor. And then I booked questionnaires by adapting them from the past researchers. And then I translated the questionnaire into Malay language since my respondents are the parents, so they might not have good comprehension of the language, English language, using different questions. And then the translation was checked by a Malay language teacher. Then I conducted the pilot study with my 15 respondents. And since the alpha value test is 0.92, valid and reliable, I proceed with the collecting data from the active respondents. And the questionnaires were distributed through WhatsApp and Telegram. And then I transferred the data into SPSS and I analyzed it. Okay, for the data analysis procedure, for research question number 1, I used independent sample t-test to compare the mix between male and female. And this will show the significant differences between the 2 genders regarding their involvement. And for research question number 2, I used a ANOVA test to compare the mix between the 3 different groups, urban, suburban, and rural. This will show the differences between the 3 household localities and the parents' involvement in their children's English language acquisition at home. And for research question 3, I used Pearson correlation test to check the correlation between the relationship of the parents and teacher and the parents' involvement in their children's English language acquisition at home. Okay, so this is my data findings for research question 1. Based on this, we can see that 42% of my respondents are male and 58% are female. So by using the independent sample t-test, it shows that the value of P is 0.438, which is larger than 0.05. So there is no significant difference between parental involvement in their children's English language acquisition at home based on gender. Yes, next for research question 2. 19% of the parents are from rural area, 26% from urban, and 55% from suburban area. Based on the ANOVA test, F equal to 2.255 and C equal to 0.112. Since the value of C is bigger than 0.05, it shows that there is no significant difference between the 3 localities, the urban, suburban, and rural area, and the parents' involvement in their children's English language acquisition at home. The last one is the Pearson correlation test. Based on this, R equal to 0.0705 and C equal to 0.00. So this shows that the parents' relationship with the English teacher affects the parents' involvement in their children's English language acquisition at home. The discussion for research question 1. Research question 1. By using independent sample t-test, we can say that there is no significant difference in parental involvement based on the gender. For research question 2, by using ANOVA test, we can say that the locality of the household, which is urban, suburban, or rural, does not affect the parents' involvement in their children's English language acquisition at home. And lastly, for the research question number 3, by using Pearson correlation test, we can say that there is a clear connection between the relationship of the parents and the English language teacher. So as a conclusion for research objective 1, the result indicates that gender of the parents does not affect their involvement in their children's English language acquisition at home, which means both mother and father plays an equal part in their children's English language acquisition. Research objective 2, the result indicates that parents that live in rural and suburban area are actively involved as the parents in the urban area. And the last one, the result indicates that there is a correlation between the relationship of the parents and the English language teachers with their involvement in English language acquisition at home. My recommendations for the teachers, English language teachers should keep in touch with the parents so they can guide the parents to keep the English speaking environment at home. This is because if the teachers teaches English for the children at school and they did not keep on speaking English at home, the students might forget what they have learned at school that day. Second one, parents. Parents need to spend more time with their children by communicating in English, playing English nursery rhymes, or reading English storybooks to their children. And then, the last one is for the future research. Future research can conduct a qualitative approach by conducting an interview with the parents. So this they can see clearly what the parents did at home that can help in their children's English language acquisition. The other one, they can conduct a quantitative approach with different variables such as age of the parents and the household income. The last one is the implications. First one is parents. Parents need to provide the right environment and suitable materials such as books to their children. And they need to communicate with the English teachers so they can help with the children's homework and tasks. As for teachers, teachers need to keep a good partnership and rapport with the parents. They can scaffold the parents about the basics of pedagogy and encourage the parents to be involved in their children's language learning. The last one for the pupils. So these pupils will be able to acquire the second language easily if the parents and teachers keep a good relationship. And they will be equipped with the suitable environment and materials at home by the parents. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Everybody will now proceed with the question. Please welcome Dr. Aina and Dr. Muhammad.
Okay, thank you again. And congratulations, you are the last person. And congratulations to all for completing this presentation of Viva. Okay, then we take a look at your RO and RQ. Okay, RO2 and your RQ2, right, they don't really match the words there. So you need to do something. I think you need to change the RO. Okay, that's not my question. That's only my comment. Yeah. My question is, how did you choose your sample?
Random sampling.
I mean, really choose. How did you go about choosing them?
Since my respondent need to be parents with children aged 5 to 12 years old, I asked for the parents of my students during my practical test to answer the question.
So, how many students and how many parents?
The students have around 100 students. So that was why I chose 100 as my population. And the sample was 80.
80. Was there any difficulty dealing with the sample?
Usually there are some difficulties since there are the parents. Unlike if I ask, if my survey focuses on the student, I can just have them asking them, or if my respondents are my training friends, it can be easy because we can help each other. But for parents, I need to approach them and ask them nicely because if they don't want to cooperate with me, then I have no respondent.
Did you contact them physically or
No,
through-
using group WhatsApp.
okay. Now can we look at the findings on number 2? Is it? Two. No, the discussion. Okay. No, not discussion. Your yes. This one, recommendation. You say that parents need to spend more time with the children communicating in English. What about the parents who can't speak English?
What about parents that cannot speak? That's why I said teachers and parents need to keep a good relationship. It doesn't mean that the parents need to speak a full English sentence to their children at home. Just by simply saying yes or no to their children to keep up the environment, the English language environment at home, so that their children know that their parents approve of them speaking English at home.
What are other methods that I think can, other than speaking, that can help the children?
Or maybe they, like I said, read English story books, English nursery rhymes, or they just open English channel on the YouTube or TV by subscribing to educational content on the TV. We have that.
Very good. Amanda?
Okay, thank you. Only one question. Okay, you state clearly, you have stated already a few times about this, about the problem. State clearly the problems faced, the problems and the limitation of this research. State clearly. Betul. State maknanya bagi tahu.
For my research, the first is time constraint because this research was I collected the data when I was here. My respondents are in Kedah, so that's my I had a hard time actually to collect the data. And then the second one is the number of respondents. Like there are I am not sure whether my respondents are from urban, suburban, or rural area. So I was afraid that the number might not. There is a huge difference between the number of the rural, the suburban, and urban areas. So it might affect the result.
Yeah, it was not uniform difference. Okay. That are the limitations.
When you state everybody when you state your limitation, you have to put the what is the result. I mean, what is the consequence of having this limitation to the validity or the effect on your study? What would happen? Let's say the data cannot be generalized. Sample cannot be generalized to the whole population, the whole country, for example, or other people. That one you must take in your thesis. Not just simply say that this is the limitation. So what? And you have to explain what is the consequence of that. Okay, so very good, everyone. Okay. So one part is complete now. Now your article and also correction of your thesis. Okay, good luck, everyone. Okay, and your internship, and you have another project for internship.
The stapler.
Our presentation.